That's one of my favorite Kiss songs from the Rock and Roll Over album, Mr. Speed. That album came out in 1976, and to me, it's still just such a great sounding record, and it's going to tie into what we're going to talk about right now here on Trunk Nation, because this band that came on the scene, I guess first I heard about them was about a year ago from my good friend John Bianelli, and he said, and fellow Kiss fan, he said, there's this band called Classic 78. They sound like Kiss, but it's not Kiss. It's a really sort of unique, different sort of thing. And I played you a song or two over the last couple months from this band, and now we're going to welcome in their guitar player, Tom, from Classic 78, to talk a little bit about this band and their story. Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking the time. How are you today?
Doing great, Eddie. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Sure thing. So I guess we should start at what you're doing with this band is really interesting, because it's not a tribute to Kiss because you're making original music, but it is because it's in the spirit of Kiss. And I know you don't use your last name, so there's a bit of, I guess, mystique about this. So explain a little bit about the origins of Classic 78, how it came about, the idea, and the whole story behind it.
Sure. Basically, around the time that Sonic Boom was coming out, there was all this discussion about how that album was going to be harken back to their 70s era. And it was exciting to hear that. And then they started to play, leaking some of the songs and some studio clips. And I got to thinking to myself, I've been a Kiss fan since 76. I was just a little kid. And those 70s records mean a lot to me. It was part of my growing up. So I kind of thought to myself, I never tried to write a Kiss song. I wonder if I tried to write a 70s Kiss song just as a creative exercise, if I'd even be able to do it. Because I learned how to play guitar and by listening to those Kiss albums, which led into Aerosmith albums and Ted Nugent albums and so on and so forth. So I know kind of what the music dictates, and I know kind of the moves they make musically. So long story short, I put down a song idea that I came up with, and that ended up being a song called Rock and Roll You, which ended up on the first Classic 78 EP. So what I did was I demoed it at home at the time and played it to my friends who were also fellow Kiss fans, and they all thought it was a lost Kiss demo from 76, Yeah. And in the process of doing that, I found out, I put a rough vocal on it just to put a vocal on it, and I found out that I could kind of do a young Gene Simmons type of voice, and I was kind of surprised at that. So I worked on it and tweaked it a little bit, and then I recorded some other songs, and I was like, wow, if I record these songs with my friends and find somebody who can sing like Paul, I could kind of do an Ace vocal myself as well. So we had Gene and Ace covered. I just needed to find a Paul. Maybe we could release a couple of these songs online just for fun, and just to see who salutes. It's a tribute in a way to the sound that they made and the sound that they created back in the 70s from 74 to 78. But it's someone used the words a pastiche, which is, I guess, is when you use somebody else's style with your own material. So it's a tribute in one way, but like you said earlier, it's not because it's all original music, but it's original music created to be like an imaginary lost album from 1978,
Yeah, I don't know, Tom, if anyone's ever, and I could be wrong, but to my knowledge, I don't know if anybody's ever done anything like this, and that's what makes it unique, is that, yes, and we'll play some, and people get a sense of what we're talking about if they haven't heard it, but yes, it completely channels the vibe of Kiss in the 70s, but it's clearly inspired by, and it reminds you of Kiss songs, but it is original. So I don't even know what you'd call it, because I've never heard of anybody doing anything like this before.
I know. I think anything that's come close to doing a similar thing has been a spoof of some sorts, like the Ruddles or something like that.
Right, which this is clearly not.
No, it's not. It's where basically it's we spent a lot of time and a lot of care, on the songs and on the recordings within reason. We didn't go crazy with an overly produced deal. We just wanted to keep it simple And we knew that if we did that, we could capture all the essential elements of those early Kiss records, you know. But what we did, you know, we definitely went into it with the idea of just imagine there's a unreleased album in between, you know, side 4 of Alive 2 and the solo albums, or, you know, between Love Gun and Alive 2. You know, it's a sound that that Kiss doesn't make anymore.
Right.
And it's not a sound that they need to make anymore. They've been through so many changes and so many styles and band members and stuff like that. But it's a sound that a lot of people are really connected to. And I just thought, wow, if we could maybe get this out there, and just maybe 40 people will like it. It'd just be fun to do. And that wasn't the case at all. It just the fan base just gravitated towards it, you know.
Yeah, well, because we all know, Kiss fans, you're one, I'm one. We're all so passionate about the band, and we all have our different opinions about what we like and don't like. But there's no shortage of passion and debate and discussion when it comes to Kiss. But nobody can argue about the sound of that '70s stuff and the fact that really nobody does it like that anymore, as you said, including the band themselves. So the fact that somebody's come along and really channeled that is really pretty interesting. And if you can, talk a little bit about your personal history. Now, I know you guys only go by your first names. Explain the reasons for the mystique. Is there video or pictures of you? Because nothing that I've seen, right?
Correct. We intentionally haven't revealed our ourselves, last names and identities, and not for any heavy reason like, I don't want people to know I'm doing this. It had more to do with the fact that we wanted people to hear the music and conjure up images that the music is dictating. You know, if this song reminds you of Peter singing a '70s Kiss song, or if it reminds you of, Paul, or if it reminds you of Gene in 1975, we want you to have those memories. We don't necessarily, we're not. It's more important that you think about those things and have your own imagination, because the music is definitely dictating that. It's telling you that's Ace Frehley on guitar, even though it's not. It's me. It's that's Gene Simmons singing in 1976, and it's not. It's us. We're Classic 78. But by not interfering with people's imagination, it just adds a little bit more to the experience, because we are essentially creating a Lost Kiss record without actually being Kiss. And that's the challenge of it, and that's the fun part of it. And the fact that we just don't have to tell anybody who we are is just an extra bonus, because when was the last time there was any mystique with anything Kiss?
Right. Well, that's a fair point. But you're not keeping your identities secret, because it's not like anybody in your band also plays in AC/DC or something.
Right. Yeah. Right.
There's no famous people in your band, I guess, is my question.
Right. Charlie Benante is not drumming on this record, even though he wishes he did.
I'm sure he does.
Exactly. But exactly, we're just regular guys. We're all on Facebook. We have jobs and families and stuff like that. It's just that we're all, huge Kiss fans, and have the ability to tap into that thing and work on it and make sure that those drum fills sound like Peter, that hi-hat sounds like Peter, that the bass lines sound like Gene, and it's just a unique, fun way to tap into something that people can't get anymore. You can still listen to those old albums, and that's what we do too, but it's just a way to maybe add a little extra something to the playlist that you're not going to be able to add.
Well, you also pick an interesting thing too, because like 77 back, that's when Kiss actually played on Kiss records. That's when all those records were Ace, Gene, Peter, Paul. Past that, starting with the studio side of Alive 2, gets a little dicey as to who played what and who's actually on drums or guitar. So you're talking about really, really channeling a specific time period. Did you have without saying what you can say, and I know from a friend, our mutual friend, told me a little something about you, but do any of you guys, were you ever full-time musicians? Do you work in the music industry now?
Yes, a couple of us work in the music industry now, and we've all been musicians in bands that were gigging around. Professional in that, we were able to gig regularly and make money, but nothing on a national level or even on a recording level. Just, cover bands and some tribute band stuff. And, Rory, who's the drummer on both EPs, he and I have known each other since '84, and we've been in and out of bands with each other, and did the casino circuit and the festival circuit, just doing tributes and covers and stuff like that. And then Joe, who sings the Paul vocals on both EPs, he's a really talented guitar player, and he's actually a country artist, and he's pursuing a solo career, not a solo career, but he's pursuing a country career. So this was kind of like a cool side project to scratch an itch and tap into some of that 70s Kiss stuff that we all grew up on and that we all kind of miss,
And you work in the touring industry, correct?
Yeah, I do. I'm part of I do a little bit of road management, and I do some creative, and I do some archival and stuff like that for different bands. But I don't work in a capacity where I'm writing songs or playing on anybody's records in that capacity. It's strictly behind the scenes stuff.
Right. Well, if you can, Tom, I want to put you on hold because I want to play one of your songs so people can hear what the hell we're talking about, and then come back and talk for a few more minutes if that's okay before I let you go.
Absolutely.
All right, so I got two songs. Again, the band is called Classic 78, spelled with it's spelled Klassik 78. And as we just mentioned, this is new original material, but performed like Kiss would, very much in the spirit of Kiss in the 70s, and we'll give you a little taste of Hot on Her Heels, so you can see exactly what we're talking about. Come back and talk with Tom for a few more minutes. And Tom, just so everybody knows, you are the lead guitar player in the band?
Yes, I play lead guitar, and I did all the bass as well, and I do the Gene vocal and the Ace vocals on the records.
And what can you tell us about this track, Hot on Her Heels?
This, if you like the Rock and Roll Over album, you're going to like this track. This is classic, tip of the hat to Paul in his 1976 glory, with a phenomenal vocal by our lead singer, Joe. Okay,
so let's put you on hold. We're going to put Tom on hold for a second and give you a little taste of what we're talking about. And if you're an old school Kiss fan, you're going to get it in about 2 seconds. So here you go. Classic 78, Hot on Her Heels on Trunk Nation. Right down to that last sort of scream there at the end, man. So if somebody said to you that was a Kiss song from Rock and Roll Over that didn't make it, and it was on the Gene Simmons vault for $2,000, you'd be like, hell yeah, it's great. But it's not. It's not Kiss. It's Classic 78, and Tom, the guitar player from the band, joining me here on this Monday on Trunk Nation on Volume. Tom, have you heard from anybody from Kiss about this project since you started it?
Indirectly from people in their camp and stuff like that. For instance, we heard through a mutual friend that Paul had been passing it around, to some of his friends and playing it for him because he got a kick out of it. And then maybe 2 or 3 months after that, a mutual friend was communicating with Paul about something else and happened to mention, hey, have you heard this Classic 78 thing? And then Paul responded and told him, yeah, I did. And he said he thought it was great. He thought we really captured the sound and feel of those early records and the songwriting style. And he was shocked at how close that our singer Joe sounded like he did back then. And he said he had never heard anybody sound as close as that, which is pretty cool. He wasn't threatened by any of the songwriting or anything to that effect, but he thought it was cool. He thought we did a good job, and he said that he enjoyed listening to it even just for the novelty of it, and the novelty of it being it's a Kiss record without actually being Kiss.
Exactly right. Yeah. If they ever do make a new record, they should call you guys to write with them because you've got it down, man. I mean, I don't think they ever would, but it would be a nice idea.
That was kind of a joke I had with the guys when I put this together with them and asked them if they wanted to do this with me. They were like, "What if we get can we get stepped on? Or can someone send us a cease and desist letter?" I said, "If we ever get a cease and desist letter, which we won't, but that thing's going up on my wall."
Frame it.
My response will be, "You shouldn't be sending me cease and desist. You should be hiring me to help you with your next record."
Exactly right.
But no, they get a kick out of it, and we heard through Gene's 3 of Gene's band members that Gene was totally blown away. They played it for him on a bus trip, and he was like, holy wow.
Yeah.
So, what's great about this, Eddie, is that we got guys who we don't even know who are banging around out there in the music world who dig it. You know, we heard from Charlie Benanti right away. We heard from Joey Casada, the drummer from ZO2 and
Sure.
TSO and whatnot. And, you know, Mike Portnoy has said some nice things. You know, Gene Simmons' band members had contacted us out of the blue just to tell us, we just played this for him and he's shit. We wanted to let you know. You know, they don't know us. They're just like, this is cool, fun stuff. You know, we want to share this with you because if it was my band and Gene was listening to my stuff, I'd want to know. So we're letting you know. You know, it's cool how people are having a good time with it because that's the whole purpose of it. We're not trying to say Kiss should be doing this and what the F. This is just us embracing the part of Kiss that we really have an attachment to and flying it up the flagpole in a fun way as a total, you know, with total respect and you know, admiration for what they created, because this is the sound that those four guys made is undeniable, you know, on all those records. And when you have a combination of people like that and you can make that kind of sound and have that kind of impact, it just goes to show you that the pieces of the puzzle are so important in a band. And, you know, fortunately, if you like 70s Kiss, you know, you understand that, you know. So, and again, if you like 70s Kiss, you're certainly going to get a smile out of listening to Classic 78.
Well, and that's
for everybody.
No, of course not. And that's the theme from all of those people you just mentioned who reached out to you and saying how much they enjoyed it. That is the common thread. Obviously, they're all huge. They're all friends of mine, so I know they're all huge Kiss fans. So it makes sense. That's who this is going to resonate with. And there's a ton of us out there. There's millions around the world. So it's a pretty big audience that you have the potential to pick off with this. You know, did you ever think when you started doing this? Did you ever think of going? I mean, there's a million Kiss tribute bands, but did you ever think of actually just covering Kiss songs? Like, that's a very big distinction to write songs in the vein of Kiss that are original versus just taking a route which, sounding like this, you could have easily done and been another Kiss tribute and actually just done their songs.
Right. And I think that's what was attractive about this was it was a way to be creative, and also tap into something that's familiar. So even though it's original material, it's very familiar and comfortable to people who are into those early Kiss records and whatnot. So we found it to be more of a challenge. You know, you could pretty much stick your foot out and you're going to trip somebody who's in a Kiss tribute band these days, you know? Mm-hmm. And, you know, doing the covers things, I think we've all kind of exhausted that just in general, you know, throughout our, years of playing. So this was a nice way to tap into a unique creative situation that made us smile and made us laugh. I mean, some of the lyrics that are on these songs just crack you up because it's on the level of Ladies' Room or of Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. But this is not the Beatles or Bob Dylan in any way, shape, or form. It's a riot. It's a riot. But it's like that's the exact kind of lyric that Gene should be singing during that song, or that's the exact kind of title for a Paul song. And we didn't just cobble together parts and jam them together and say, he sounds like Paul, start singing. We crafted the stuff so the lyrics and the riff and the vocal delivery all sounded like it belonged together, and all the guitar leads sound like Ace on his best day. You know, that was our goal. So, you know, it's like it's all nostalgia. It's just tapping into nostalgia and putting a smile on people's face without having to beat them over the head with it. If you listen to the samples and you like what you hear, it's there for you to download. You know, we have Side 1 EP that we released in February of last year. We have the Side 2 EP that we released on Halloween of last year. And there's 12 songs that you can check out. And if you like the stuff, there you go. And if you don't dig it, you can move on to your Asylum album. It's all good, you know.
And you have you have a physical CD now as well. Where can people get that on? What's the website for everybody to learn more about the band, Tom?
Well, actually, on the physical CD was just a limited edition run that we put together for the Atlanta Kiss Expo.
Oh, okay.
Rory, the drummer, and I went to that and just to kind of say hello and thank you to people because we had such a good year in 2017.
And how did I not see you at that? I mean, I know that was pretty crazy for me as well, but I know you guys had a booth set up there as well because I saw you handing out these like really cool pins or something.
Yeah, we had T-shirts and again the physical CDs, but we wore white makeup with aviator glasses, and so we were in disguise, and we were pretty jammed all day too. So we saw you buzzing around like a bee, going left and right. So we wouldn't have been able to say hello anyway.
Yeah.
But long story short, the CD was just a limited edition thing. When we came back from Atlanta, we sold the rest of the inventory, and it all sold out in like 4 days. But you can get the same songs that were on that CD are on the actual EPs that we released online, which is on iTunes and CD Baby and Amazon. If you go to www.classic78.com, that's KLASSIK, the number 7, the number 8.com. You can check out the samples, and you can buy both EPs via download. And just click on the links, and you're ready to go.
So where do you go from here with this, and where do you want to go from here with this? Because you have you done live shows, or if you're keeping anonymous, you really can't. So what's the plan going forward?
Well, we kind of have an idea of what we would do if we were to play live. The thing is that we don't want to go slugging around in clubs. There's really no need to do that. But what we would do is, if we were to play a cruise or a large Kiss event or a festival, we'd be able to do that because we've been getting together and playing, and we're getting together next week as well. So we've got musically we've all got loads of miles under our belts with gigging and stuff like that. So it's been fun to get in the room and play, but we don't want to ruin it. We might release more in the future, but we don't want to ruin it by getting in a van and trying to play at a club for 40 people. I mean, Ace is having as much difficulty, and Gene is. One town they're playing, there's 200 people. The next town they're playing, and there's 1,500. We don't need to get into the mix on that and ruin, the good time that we're having by releasing the music. But we've been playing. It's been fun to get in the room and rock this stuff out, and we'll see what happens. But until we get those calls or until those offers come in, we're just laying low. And there's so much going on in Kiss World right now that we're just trying to stay out of the way because ex-members are getting together with other members, and this one's reunited with this one. It's good to just stay out of the way.
If you were to play a live show, would you wear some sort of makeup?
Yeah, we would. We thought about that. We figured if we were to play live, like hypothetically on the cruise, and again, we haven't been invited or asked to do that or anything, but if we were, it would probably be our first and last blowout, So
just one show ever, one show and done live?
Well, just the reason, when we went to Atlanta, Rory and I went, and we were like, do we just be ourselves, or do we don't want to, again, ruin the mystique for those who like this thing? So, we wore white face paint and mirrored aviator glasses, and that did the trick. We looked like Kiss without any trademark infringement,
Mm-hmm.
So we'd probably perform like that if we were to perform, and people would get it. As soon as they hear us and see us, they'd go, "Oh, I see. I get what's going on here,"
Mm-hmm.
But it's important that it's cool. That we don't want to. It can't be goofy. It's got to be cool, because this isn't a. It's a fun project, but it's not a joke. It's not a spoof. It's not a gag. And we're getting more excitement out of the fact that people are enjoying it and anticipating what may or may not be next, and kind of going about things the way it feels natural for us. And in the meantime, Kiss is doing what they're doing, and sounds like they might have a big year next year. So, it's there's plenty of space for us to jump in and out as we see fit, I guess.
As a Kiss fan, is it all about the 70s era for you, or did you stay with them through the 80s and all that as well?
I toughed it out, man. I toughed it out through the 80s and the 90s, and I was at the Alive 3 taping in Detroit.
Yeah.
We drove out there for 15 hours, and but there's nothing. You're hoping for the miracle to happen, and it happened in '96.
Right.
And then everything after that has kind of been, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But Kiss, in my opinion, is, for me, the most meaningful part is those 70s records. I mean, it's just part of my fabric of growing up, but just like it is for everybody else.
Well, same with me. Yeah. I mean, when was your first show?
My first show, because I was such a young kid, my first show wasn't until Animalize, you know?
Oh, okay. So you're younger than me. I'm 53. So you're in your 40s?
Yeah, I'm in my late 40s, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got into them in 76. I was 6 years old. It was the older kids in the neighborhood who were playing the Alive and the Destroyer 8-track on the corner. And I was like, what the hell is this? And they're like, no, see those guys on that picture? That's who's playing this music. And then my little 6-year-old head was blown. So I've been involved. I've been in the KISS world ever since.
So for you, the reunion thing was huge because that was your first shot. I mean, I saw him 77, which was my first ever show, in December 77, Alive 2 at the Garden in New York, and then 79, which was my second ever show, also at the Garden. So I did get to see that stuff, but I was very young, so I don't remember it in all the detail, but...
And the fact that you don't remember it doesn't make it any more painless for me, because every time you mention that, I'm like, oh, man, I would have loved to have seen that. And Charlie does the same thing, and Scott Ian does, I saw him in 75. I'm like, oh, man. Because when I was a kid, I always found out about it the day after or the day before, you know?
Yeah.
I thought that they played at Boston Garden every weekend. I didn't know.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
So then you find out, they just played in Providence. I'm like, oh, man, you know? But
well, I don't know. Like you said, it's a crazy time in KISS world. Who the hell knows what's really going on? And this guy's doing stuff with this guy all of a sudden, and then now they're not. So who the hell knows? I mean, maybe we get one last hurrah. But people ask me if I know what I'm going on, if I know anything what's going on, because two of the original members, Ace and Peter, I'm friendly with, but I have no idea, and I don't think they do either. I think it's just a strange, interesting time, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
Absolutely, and I got to tell you, and feel free to cut me off if you need to, but hearing your top 20 of the KISS stuff. Mm-hmm. The passion and the joy that you were like jumping out of your seat while he was playing the songs that you selected. They'd be in the middle of a little guitar lick on 1,000 Years, and you're jumping for joy like an 11-year-old kid. Like, listen to that. And if there's any question about how important Paul Stanley is to you, all anybody has to do is listen to your top 20.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. The irony of it is he's the one guy in the band that doesn't like me, but I'll live with that because, Tom, just like anybody, I mean, I have to do what I have to do as a fan, and I say this all the time. You should be able to have a voice as a fan, and I don't consider myself a journalist or anything. I'm lucky I've done this for 35 years, but at the end of the day, just like you, just like anybody, I'm a fan first and foremost, and I think it's important. I mean, no matter what band you love, and I love, some of my sacred bands, I can point to a period or an era or something they did I didn't like. And most of the bands, it's okay to talk about that, and they're fine with it, and they'll debate and discuss that with you. In KISS, there's one guy that doesn't want to do that and can't handle that. So it is what it is. But I think I've said a million times, no matter if I'm critical about a certain period or a certain thing that a band's doing, it doesn't mean I'm still not a fan. I'll always be a fan. And the irony of it for me personally with KISS is that they were, without question, the biggest and most important band shaping me growing up, and still are to a large degree. And Paul Stanley was always my favorite member.
I know.
So of all the bands and all the people in the world, for that to be the issue, but unfortunately, I'm in good company when it comes to people he doesn't talk to. So I don't lose sleep over it, but it is kind of interesting and bizarre at the same time. But I'll always be a fan, and I remember a little bit of 77. And being at that show. I remember, I was 13. I remember a little bit of the atmosphere and the experience. And I couldn't get my head around how it was possible to make guitars be that loud, because I was like in the upper level of Madison Square Garden, and I didn't have any concept of amplification. I didn't know you could make, as a 12, 13-year-old kid, that you could make a guitar fill a room like that. So I remember looking at these guys so tiny and then hearing it so loud and being like, how is that possible? Like, it didn't resonate with me at the time.
It's amazing how that stuff sticks in your head. That's the thing about them, is that not only did you get it sonically, but you got it visually, and for some reason that sounded exactly like the sound that guys who look like that should be making. And it just catches you, and you may not remember what the set list was, but you remember how loud it was, or you remember them coming down on the cherry pickers or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So many people out there have those those memories. And it, like with the current state of Kiss, there's so many people who are having fun with that, And like you said, just with anything, a restaurant or a service or a band, you vote with your wallet, and it doesn't mean you don't have the things about them that you can still enjoy. I bought Monster and I bought Sonic Boom and I enjoyed it. I didn't see the tours on those records, but
right.
I bought that. I didn't see the Freedom to Rock tour, but I bought the book, and I bought this, that, and the other. So you can there's plenty to go around, and you got to have a good time. You got to have a good time with things, and I think that's one of the things about Greta Van Fleet or Rival Sons. It's like, wow, they're not thinking about commercial viability at all. They're just letting it rip,
Mm-hmm.
And it's refreshing to hear that. And with this project, it's totally fun. It's totally no pressure. We paid a lot of attention to detail, as much as we could within reason. We didn't slack where we where we could have in certain respects, and we all worked hard on it. And people are every day, Eddie, we're getting emails. We sold this thing in Bulgaria,
I
Sweden,
bet.
all over the world. It's amazing, and people again are having fun, and they're telling us, whatever you do, don't tell us who you are. Don't reveal your identity. So
they want to probably think that you're actually Gene, Paul, Peter, and Ace, and let them start rumors. That'll only benefit you even further. Two quick things before I got to go.
Yeah.
What is your? I always wondered this the minute I heard the band. Why Classic 78 versus 77? Because any Kiss fan knows 78, wheels started coming off a little bit. You had the solo records, you had Kiss Meets the Phantom. You would think 77 back would be like the break point. Why did you go 78?
Because it's not a heavy, deep thing, but the simplicity of it was, imagine if there was, instead of doing the solo albums, they continued on in the vein of the Love Gun and did a studio record.
So this would be essentially like the follow-up to Love Gun, or the studio side of Alive 2.
Right. So it's like, imagine there was an album between Van Halen 1 and Van Halen 2, or an album between Toys in the Attic and Rocks that just popped out 40 years later.
All right.
That's, just like, holy crap, that type of thing. When they were still in their prime, because, again, I think you might have said Love Gun was the last album where they all played on the record.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a continuation of all that. Plus, if there's a song called Ain't No Fool on the second EP that sounds like Dress to Kill. If we have something that sounds like anything off of those first couple records that we feel strong about, we don't have to do a 1978 type of sound. We're sticking with those first 6 studio albums, and if we can touch on something strong in any of those albums with original music, we're going to put those on the records and still call them Classic 78.
And before I play one more song and let you go, do you have a favorite Kiss record?
Rock and Roll Over. I'm not surprised by that answer, given what your band sounds like. Because if I had to compare it to any Kiss record in that pocket, it would definitely be that record, which for me, maybe in my number 1 or 2. I mean, I don't really have one, but if I had to, it might be Rock and Roll Over as well. I often say that myself. So great minds think alike. It's them in their prime being themselves. It's such a great record.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, listen, Tom, it's great to talk to you. Good luck with this. It'll be fun to watch where you take it, and I'm not surprised that the Kiss fans have gravitated towards it. And if you're just a fan of great, straight up old school sounding hard rock, there's no reason not to like it either, because that's the beauty of this. The Kiss fans are going to get what you're doing, but there's this sort of scene happening where new bands sounding totally retro. You mentioned Greta Van Fleet, stuff like that. So this isn't, Greta Van Fleet gets hit for being so Zeppelin sounding. You could almost be like, your own new thing and be looked at kind of cool by people who aren't into Kiss or don't even get it. So the possibilities on where this could go are kind of interesting.
Yes, and we made a point when we did this is to have songs, and that was the key. So even though whether you like Kiss or not, there's hooks in these songs, and you'll be driving down the street humming some of these songs, and you won't know why, or you don't know where they came from, but we put them in there. You know.
Well, listen, man, it's great to talk to you. The website again is classic78.com.
Yes, KLASSIK, the number 7, the number 8.com. That'll lead you to iTunes and CD Baby and Amazon, so you can check out the links and listen to the samples and buy both EPs on download. And we thank you for mentioning us over the last few months, and everybody out there who bought the downloads or bought the CD when we saw you at Atlanta. We had a great 2017, and we'll see what happens later on this year.
All right, this last track we're going to play is called Rock and Roll You. What do you want to tell us about this?
This is a vintage Gene track, 76, 77. I think people will dig it.
All right, man. Well, listen, good luck with it, and hopefully we'll see you. Hopefully I'll see you sometime soon, in or out of the white makeup, all right?
Absolutely, Eddie.
All right, take care, Tom.
Thank you.
See you, man. There he is. Again, the really interesting Classic 78, the name of the band. Not a tribute band, but more inspired by the music of Kiss. And that's what we've been talking to Tom about, the band's guitar player, over the course of the last 45 minutes or so. One more song from Classic 78, as we just mentioned. This is called Rock and Roll You on Trunk Nation.
Hair Nation's resident rock and roll insider, live and coast to coast. Now, Eddie Trunk is on Hair Nation.
All right, let's get to the phones right now. We got a lot of people who've been waiting a long time to get on the air. We start with Bruce, who's in Indiana, as our first caller. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you, Eddie, for taking my phone call. I love your show, man. I can't wait to Monday nights. I know you got your other shows, but I definitely listen to you on Monday. And I turn it on. And guess who you have on? Because you played a track from that Classic 78 a couple months ago or a month ago. I'm like, oh, you got him on this. You got him on tonight. And you answered every question. I don't have any questions else to ask, but I thought that Rock You thing that Gene sings, how did they get their voices to sound just like them?
I don't know. I mean, it is amazing that they can sound that much like old Kiss. And I really don't know, Bruce. I mean, I think it's just... I mean, there are people that do impressions of artists, and there's certainly enough impressionists out there and tributes and stuff like that. But there is a certain quality to what they've been able to capture there that's really unique. It's a very 70s vibe, and I think a lot of it comes down to the very bare bones production, too. You know, there's not a lot of effects. A lot of music today is so compressed and layers of vocals, and they really did it the right way on every level. I'm a major Kiss fan like you are. I grew up, I'm 60, so I'm a little bit older. I was around for the 76 tour, which is my first one, The Destroyer, which is, I would love to just talk to you over the favorite albums. I would just go crazy over that. But anyway, I don't want to take all your time. It was amazing. Thank you for the interview. All right, Bruce.
Hey, are those guys all from Tennessee area?
No, they're all from I believe they're all from the Boston area. They're all from New England, if I'm not mistaken. All right, thanks to Tom from Classic 78 for being my guest. Again, no show next Monday because it's a memorial.